It's been such a long time since I've done a YouTube video and posted anything on here. This is my puppy Blossom. She's here with me right now. And in the background, I have our newest member of the family. He's kind of waking up from his nap right now, but he's right over here. He probably will wake up soon to start eating. Nobody asked, but I'm going to be sharing my labor and delivery story for anyone that's curious, and it kind of like might relate to, I guess, my story. He's still sleeping. He's so precious. So I'm just gonna get right into it. I gave birth November 3rd, 2022. I had to give birth 37 weeks, so he wasn't even 40 weeks when he was born. It was 37 weeks, and the reason for that is I had to be induced because I got something that was called cholestasis of pregnancy. It kind of just happens. Basically, you can look it up, but it's just I started to get really itchy hands and itchy feet at the bottom of my feet. It has to do something with your liver and the bile acids and all of that stuff. You can just kind of look it up, but basically I had to be induced because it's a risk to let it go past 37 weeks. The risk for stillbirth and just complications are possible and increased after 37 weeks, so they had to induce me. I actually went into my doctor's office and he actually swept my membranes. That was that Tuesday, so I went into the hospital Wednesday at 5 in the morning, and so on Tuesday afternoon I got my membrane swept. I kind of was a little bit dilated. I was like maybe like 1 centimeter dilated. And so then on Wednesday we went to 5 in the morning. We had to go to the hospital and then just kind of start the induction process. And the baby checked out. They were checking the monitor and the baby's heart rate and everything, making sure everything's good. And then by sorry, my dog is playing with me. So we went into the hospital Wednesday 5 in the morning. We were there. So mind you, just to so you guys can remember, around 4:30 that I had like a breakfast, so I kind of just went to Dunkin' Donuts, which I kind of wish I had a bigger meal because I'll get more into it later, but I didn't eat for like a whole 24 hours. We went into the hospital at 5 in the morning, and then they were monitoring the baby, and by then I was only about like 2 centimeters dilated, and then we had to have the induction process starting. He's making little noises. So they were monitoring the baby, and then by 11 a.m. they put in what's called the Cervidil. It's kind of like a tampon. And they insert it's a little bit uncomfortable, but it's not like, once it's in, it feels like if it was a tampon. But they basically put that into your cervix, and they just like it helps your cervix dilate more. But basically your cervix is supposed to soften and thin out. It should help dilate a bit too, but for me it didn't work at all. I had that on for 12 hours. My doctor took it off around 10:30 p.m. so he inserted it around 11 a.m. and then he decided to take it off at 10:30. So within those 12 hours I was mostly getting contractions, actually like probably every 2 minutes, and they lasted for 45 seconds. But they were not intense. They were just like very like cramp like it might have felt like a really bad period.
How do you feel?
I feel good. Having contractions been good.
Yeah. Are you ready to come out?
Lie.
Look at these contractions. Oh man.
It was 12 hours of basically just that. I really thought that I was like dilating. My water has not broken yet at this point, so obviously they would have to manually break my water because I mean I'm being induced. So I was trying to do the most to kind of like get my body going, walking around, doing squats, this and that, but nothing. Yeah, I guess it didn't really work because by the time it was 10:30, he took out the Cervidil. He checked to see how far dilated I am. It was literally only like 2 to 3 centimeters. And I was like, you're kidding. I was like, no, I've been here for 12 hours. Mind you, I haven't eaten anything because they don't let you like eat anything, only like ice chips. I didn't even drink water, which I did sneak in some water at that point, but because I was like really thirsty, but I only was able to eat like ice chips and chew on that. So I had that for 12 hours. At this point I was like already exhausted and tired, and I wished I was dilated more because I really wanted a natural birth. Quick backstory, I'm like was really hoping that I would have a completely natural unmedicated birth, but obviously that wasn't the case. I had to be induced, so at this point I was already not unmedicated, which by the way, the hospital was great. I had no problem with the hospital. The nurses were amazing. My doctor obviously is great. Overall, our experience in the hospital is really nice, but I mean that was my experience. Mine and my husband really liked the hospital, and the nurses were amazing, phenomenal. And I just want to point out that nobody pressured me to do anything. Like, I wanted to see I wanted to do my birth without epidural. FYI, I didn't. Like, they did not pressure me at all to get epidural or anything like that. Like, they really followed anything I was telling them. Back to the story. By 10:30 p.m., my doctor checked to see how far dilated I am. I was not. And then barely anything. I was like probably 3 centimeters. So I only went up one number up. So and at that point my doctor broke my water, and when I tell you, that was the worst pain ever. I mean, that was worse than the contractions. That was so painful, at least for me. When they manually break your water, that was horrible. It was super painful.
2 to 3, okay? How much? 2 to 3, almost 3 centimeters.
I mean, we're gonna bring everything.
That's okay.
What happened?
Once he ruptures,
Yeah.
once he breaks your water, then it can like help speed up the process.
You did. It's better than not nothing.
Remember, I told you, this is a long process, especially when it's the first time your body's been through it.
Why does it feel stronger, the contractions?
So when you had your water, bag of water, I think of it like a cushion. You're losing that cushion now.
Okay.
So as you start to leak out fluid, those contractions are gonna feel stronger.
Okay.
So this is how like now you probably will start to dilate quicker.
Okay.
Because now those contractions are gonna be a little stronger.
Okay.
Okay. Are you wanting to just kind of?
Can she go on her side?
She can move however she needs to in
Okay.
bed. Yep, whatever she needs. Especially with those monitors, she can do whatever she needs to do. Okay.
Baby, press on my back. Press on my back, please. Oh. Give me massages. No, how you were doing before.
He broke my water. I basically had to stay laying down, and then that's when my contractions really started kicking in, and I was like in a lot of pain. I was getting like contractions like probably every 2 minutes or a minute or so. So at this point my contractions were like really bad. I mean, they were getting horrible, and I kind of lasted like that for 2 hours because, mind you, they broke my water at 10:30, and then right after that contractions started kicking in. So I started getting those really bad contractions until it was probably like 1 in the morning or so that I caved finally and was like, give me the epidural. It's so painful. I mean, it was so painful. I think it was like almost 1 in the morning, maybe not 1 exactly. It was probably like 12 something, like, so I can't remember exactly, but it was like kind of a blur. My husband probably remembers more than I do. But all I know is that I was in pain for what felt like eternity. At this point I was crying because I really didn't want to get an epidural, but I mean, my labor was not like, you know, it was all induced, so of course the pain is going to be a lot more intense. And mind you, I was only 4 centimeters dilated, so that's why I also chose to get the epidural, because if I was like maybe like at 9 centimeters dilated with that pain, I probably would be able to do it without the epidural. But since I was only 4 centimeters, I was not about to like wait that long to dilate. So when they broke my water, I was only like 2 to 3 centimeters dilated still, and then, which was at 10:30 p.m. And then by like almost 1-ish o'clock, I was having all those contractions. They checked me again. I was only 4 centimeters dilated, and that's what kind of like made me like give up and just get the epidural. And on top of that, I think the pain that I was having was kind of not letting my body relax and dilate, so I just chose to get the epidural at that point, which I was crying and I really didn't want to get the epidural. For me, the injection did not hurt at all. I knew I had to get the epidural soon because you will not be able to sit still when those contractions get stronger. So I chose to get then when they were still kind of spaced out to be able to get the epidural. And then at that point, it was like heaven. I mean, it was great. I still was able to like move my legs really slowly. Like I still felt my legs. I didn't feel like completely like numb. I had the best sleep after the epidural. I mean, it was literally like my husband had to leave the room for when they were giving me the epidural. And then when he came back, I mean, my face was like completely changed. I was like a brand new person at that point. I got the epidural, and once the pain stopped, I fell asleep. At this point, once they gave me the epidural, they were like, okay, now you can start on Pitocin, because like obviously I wasn't gonna be in like horrible pain. So they started me on like 0.2 of Pitocin, and then I think they gave me another round of Pitocin afterwards, like a couple hours later. But I was asleep through it. This is what my husband told me. But I was completely asleep because I had not slept at all that whole day. So I was awake from 4 in the morning, Wednesday morning, and at this point it was 1 a.m. Thursday morning. I was exhausted and I fell asleep, and I woke up at 6 a.m. And when I woke up at 6 a.m., I told my husband, hey, can you get me ice chips because I feel like really, really thirsty. So he goes, he gets the ice chips, and then he comes back, and then I'm like, oh, by the way, I feel like I tell the nurse I feel like I really, really need to poop, because apparently when you feel like you really need to poop, it kind of means that you're about to give birth. So my husband tells the nurse, and then they come back. The nurse checks me. Literally, she did not even have to go far in to check me. She just like went like that, and the head was like right there. So his head was right there, and at that point we were ready to push. So it's like 6 in the morning, and then they're prepping everything. The doctor's getting ready. Probably took like 10 minutes, 6 minutes for everything to get ready. I literally pushed probably like 4 times, and it was like less than 2 minutes. I mean, they took longer to prep for everything than for me to push and have the baby out.
You feeling very pushy?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, okay, let's do this. He's right there. You see him? That's your son right there. He's hanging out. Oh my gosh.
You're gonna take a deep breath and push.
You're doing awesome. You're gonna do this. It'll be great. And
You need that.
let me break down the bed for you. He's right there.
Oh my God, baby's right there.
I told you guys. That's why I was like, I'm not pushy with her. He's coming. It's okay. Hold that breath and push. I'm gonna count to 10. Hold it. Hold your breath in your mouth. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. You're gonna feel lots of pressure. Just take some big deep breaths. And with the next control, deep breath. There you go. Hard, hard, hard. Hard, 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 hard.
7, 6,
Push it,
5,
push it, push it, keep pushing.
3.
Yes.
There you
go.
Hold your breath.
Keep going.
Yes.
There you go. Rock star. Look down.
Okay, you're
Okay,
good.
ready?
Don't push. You're
Hold on.
good. You're done.
Hold on, hold on.
So I had 4 pushes. I started pushing, and everything went really smoothly. I mean, I just remembered what like my sister and my mom would tell me on how to push. Make sure you don't push with your face and you push with your body instead. You have to like be like if you're pushing out like a giant poop. Weirdly, but yes. So he was out in 4 pushes, and it was like super quick. I mean, it was like he came out really fast. I was not pushing, not even probably for like 5 minutes. It was probably like 2 to 3 minutes that I was pushing, and that was it. He was out, and he was born at 6:20 a.m.
Coming.
Okay, look down so you can see your son. Hold on, hold on. Look at that baby! Happy birthday!
Beautiful.
Oh, Mom, you did amazing.
You did awesome.
let you know when to cut.
Yeah, they want to do delay.
Okay.
Congrats, you guys. I know. Not fair.
Thank you for the
It's a baby boy.
I'm gonna start fit now.
I'm proud of you.
She's a rock star.
She is. That was so
Hey
good.
guys,
What was the time of delivery?
6:20.
620. 620.
Oh my gosh. Yay. Congratulations.
You just have a first degree.
Okay.
That's
Awesome.
Look who's joining us here. It's baby Elijah. Hi, Pepe. He's like slowly waking up from his nap. He loves when I hold him. So I actually did get a first degree tear, which wasn't bad at all. Like it healed pretty fast. Now I am 4 weeks postpartum and I'm still bleeding like very small. Like it's almost like if it's like the end of your period. It was pretty easy to heal from that first degree tear. Like it was still very uncomfortable and painful, especially in the beginning, and my back was hurt quite a bit in the beginning from the epidural, but it went away for the first few days. And overall it's been pretty good. The worst, I feel like, not the worst, but the hardest days were definitely at the hospital, because it was like just nurses coming in and out, and although they were super nice, I mean, you get tired because you're not able to sleep at all. Like the moment you finally like get to sleep, a nurse comes in and like has to check his vitals, has to check my vitals, which they're just doing their job, but it's like, dang, I want to sleep. By the way, he came out with all of his hair and I did not get heartburn during pregnancy, so that's awesome. After I gave birth to him, and of course you have to give birth basically to your placenta, push out your placenta, it definitely hurts a lot when they're pushing down in your stomach to kind of like get the placenta out. And it also hurts a lot when they're like checking every, like in the beginning they have to check very often to see if like, to make sure you're not like hemorrhaging or anything, just kind of like pushing down on your uterus, and that like really hurts too because you're so uncomfortable. The moment he came out of me, everything was like a relief. Like it felt like such a relief. Like it literally feels like my stomach like just deflated. Everything just feels so empty in there now. But I had a really positive birth story, I guess you can say, even though I had to be induced at 37 weeks. It was not ideal, obviously, to be induced at 37 weeks because you kind of just want your first baby. You kind of want the experience of like, oh my gosh, my water broke at home and like I'm contracting at home. Like that's what I wanted before going to the hospital, because I did have to be like 24 hours without food. Probably more actually, because the last meal I had, and then I say meal because that's like Dunkin' Donuts grilled cheese and a coffee is not really a meal. But I had that at like 4:30 in the morning Wednesday, and then I didn't eat the breakfast, and it was hospital breakfast. And I didn't eat the hospital breakfast until like 10 a.m. So I went a really long time without eating, which is a surprise because I'm like definitely the hangry type. So I'm surprised I even like managed to go through all of that. But I think the pain from when you're contracting, you're just not thinking about food. But yeah, overall, positive birth story, I think I would say, especially being induced and all. So I'm very grateful. I'm really grateful to God for how he's been there the whole time through my pregnancy, through my birth, and even now, and how he protects us and loves us and makes sure that although nothing went by perfectly, he's still so present and so he's there to comfort. It's definitely been such a journey being a mom. It's an awesome journey. It's definitely hard, but you feel so much, I guess you can say, purpose in life. Being a mom, it's so fulfilling and so great actually, and I'm just grateful. That's all I can say. Don't forget to subscribe to see more of this little one right here.